Security! Remove her now! The words landed with a sting, sharp and public, yet no one asked who she was or why she was there. They just assumed she didn't belong. A black woman in a flawless white suit stood at the counter, silent and still, her presence somehow too composed to be tolerated. The branch manager didn't lower his voice, didn't even pretend to be discreet. He looked at her like an object left in the wrong place, something inconvenient to be cleared away. Two security guards glanced at each other, uncertain, but still followed the order as the room around them grew heavy with silence. Conversations stalled mid-sentence, and phones quietly rose to capture what everyone could feel but no one dared name. She didn't resist, didn't plead, didn't even blink, just adjusted her bag, turned slowly, and walked toward the exit with a grace that made the entire scene feel absurd. Her heels tapped steadily across the marble floor, soft but deliberate, and just before reaching the glass doors, she stopped. Not to argue or explain or look back in anger, but simply because she knew that everything they believed about her was wrong. And in a few moments, they were going to learn just how wrong they'd been. What would you do if someone kicked you out of your own business? The security guards exchanged glances, sensing something they cannot quite name. This woman carries herself like royalty, yet she is being treated like a criminal. The contradiction hangs in the air like smoke. But this woman has a secret that will turn this entire bank upside down. Amelia Richardson arrives at First National Bank's downtown branch in her midnight blue Tesla, the vehicle sliding silently into a parking space marked for customer use. She steps out wearing a tailored charcoal suit that speaks of quality without screaming wealth. Her movements purposeful but unhurried. Today is different from her usual visits. No entourage, no obvious markers of her true status. She is dressed down deliberately, curious to experience her own institution from the perspective of an ordinary customer. The irony is not lost on her. Inside the bank, the morning rush creates a steady hum of activity. Tellers process transactions with practiced efficiency while customers wait in orderly lines. The atmosphere is professional, sterile, exactly what one expects from a major financial institution. Branch manager Derek Walsh notices her immediately from his glass office. 23 years in banking have taught him to categorize customers within seconds, and his internal alarm system activates. Another one of those people, he thinks, probably hear about some loan she cannot afford or fees she does not understand. Derek prides himself on maintaining standards, on protecting the bank's carefully cultivated image. His performance reviews consistently praise his ability to manage difficult situations and maintain customer satisfaction among the bank's preferred clientele. Amelia approaches the main counter with the confidence of someone accustomed to being taken seriously. The young Latino teller, Carlos Mendez, greets her with genuine professionalism, his training evident in his warm but respectful demeanor. She speaks clearly, her voice carrying the crisp diction of advanced education. "I would like to speak with the branch manager regarding significant banking matters, please." Her tone is neither demanding nor desperate, simply direct. Carlos nods and begins to gesture toward Derek's office, but Derek himself emerges before the introduction can be completed. He has been watching, waiting for exactly this moment to intervene. Derek approaches with the practiced smile of corporate customer service, but his eyes betray his assumptions. His internal monologue runs on autopilot. These people always want to speak to the manager, probably some complaint about policies she does not understand. When Amelia mentions large-scale account management and institutional oversight, Derek's expression shifts subtly. He hears buzzwords and assumes she is trying to sound more important than she actually is. A common tactic he has learned, to deflect, but polite but firm authority. Derek has no idea he is about to make the biggest mistake of his career. Derek interrupts Amelia mid-sentence, his voice carrying the condescending patience of someone explaining simple concepts to a confused child. Ma'am, if this is regarding loan requirements, I want you to understand that our standards are non-negotiable. The interruption hangs in the air like a slap. Other customers begin to notice the shift in atmosphere. Conversations quieting as attention drifts toward the unfolding confrontation. Amelia takes a measured breath, her training in boardroom negotiations serving her well. She repeats her request with deliberate clarity. I am here to discuss portfolio management and institutional oversight matters. Perhaps we could speak privately in your office. Derek's expression hardens, his assumptions crystallizing into certainty. He hears sophisticated terminology and interprets it as pretension, a transparent attempt to intimidate him with big words. 23 years of experience have taught him to recognize when someone is trying to punch above their weight class. Look, I do not know what you think this is, but we do not do portfolio management for people who... He catches himself before completing the thought, but the implication hovers in the air like toxic smoke. A young woman near the loan officer's desk discreetly activates her phone's camera, sensing that something newsworthy is developing. Carlos the teller shifts uncomfortably behind the counter, wanting to intervene but uncertain of his authority in the situation. Amelia reaches into her purse and withdraws a pristine business card, sliding it across the marble counter with deliberate precision. Her movements remain controlled, professional, giving Derek every opportunity to correct his course. Derek barely glances at the card before pushing it back across the counter, his dismissal complete and absolute. I do not care what kind of consultant or activist you think you are. This is a serious financial institution, and we maintain certain standards. The word activist hits Amelia like a physical blow. Her mother had been an activist, fighting these same battles 30 years ago. The generational echo of dismissal and disrespect reverberates through her consciousness. For the first time, her composure cracks slightly. Her jaw tightens, her voice drops to a register that those who know her well would recognize as dangerous. Mr. Walsh, I strongly suggest you reconsider your approach to this conversation. But Derek interprets her controlled response as defiance, confirmation of his biases rather than warning of his error. In his twisted logic, her calm authority becomes evidence of her presumption. Derek is about to learn exactly who he is dealing with, but not yet. Derek sees Amelia's measured response as confirmation of everything he suspected. In his experience, difficult customers always escalate when they do not get their way, and he believes he is witnessing the opening moves of a familiar dance. Ma'am, I am going to have to ask you to leave. You are disrupting our business environment and making other customers uncomfortable. The accusation of disruption is particularly galling because Amelia has done nothing but speak in normal, conversational tones while requesting standard banking services. Several customers exchange glances, recognizing the absurdity of the situation. Phones emerge from purses and pockets as the confrontation takes on the unmistakable character of viral content. A teenager starts a live stream, her commentary barely audible. This is insane. What did she even do? The viewer count begins climbing immediately. Amelia remains motionless, her voice steady despite the rising injustice. I have legitimate business here, Mr. Walsh. I am asking you to reconsider this course of action. Derek signals to Frank Morrison, the tired-looking security guard whose shift started 6 hours ago and whose enthusiasm for confrontation died sometime during the Clinton administration. Frank approaches with visible reluctance, recognizing that the woman has committed no actual offense. The security guard's internal conflict is evident in his hesitant steps. Ma'am, I am sorry, but you will need to come with me. His tone carries genuine regret, the voice of a man following orders he does not believe in. The ultimate humiliation unfolds in slow motion. Cameras capture every moment as Amelia gathers her purse with the dignity of royalty, her movements deliberate and controlled. She allows herself to be escorted toward the exit, her head held high despite the injustice. Derek addresses the gathered crowd with the self-satisfied authority of someone who believes he has just protected civilization itself. Ladies and gentlemen, First National Bank maintains the highest standards of security and professionalism. We apologize for any disruption to your banking experience. The live stream explodes with comments from viewers across the country. What the hell did she do? This is 2025 and this is still happening? Someone identify this bank. The digital outrage spreads like wildfire through fiber optic cables. At the exit, Amelia turns back for one final moment. Her voice carries across the suddenly silent lobby with the weight of prophecy. Mr. Walsh, you have no idea what you have just done. Derek actually laughs, the sound echoing off marble walls like breaking glass. I know exactly what I have done. I have protected this institution's reputation and maintained our professional standards. Carlos finally retrieves the abandoned business card from the counter, his hands trembling slightly as he reads the elegant black lettering. His eyes widen, his face draining of color, as comprehension dawns. What Carlos just read on that business card will change everything. In the leather interior of her Tesla, Amelia sits in absolute silence for 30 seconds. Her hands rest motionless on the steering wheel, her breathing controlled and measured. But behind her calm exterior, a furnace of purpose begins to ignite. She removes her phone and speed dials a number labeled Corporate Command. The call connects on the first ring, answered by a voice that has been expecting this moment for years. Marcus, it is Amelia. We have a situation at the downtown branch that requires immediate intervention. Her voice carries the weight of 20 years building financial empires, each word precisely chosen and delivered with surgical precision. Marcus Chen, her longtime legal counsel and strategic advisor, feels his stomach drop. He has watched Amelia navigate hostile takeovers, regulatory challenges, and industry discrimination for 15 years. She never calls for immediate intervention unless someone has crossed a line that cannot be uncrossed. How bad, Amelia? Marcus asks, already pulling up the company's crisis management protocols on his computer screen. Public humiliation, racial profiling, security escort, all captured on video and spreading across the internet as we speak. Her recitation of facts carries no emotion, but Marcus hears the fury beneath the professional veneer. Meanwhile, the hashtag trends upward with algorithmic inevitability. The video accumulates 50,000 views in the first hour, viewer comments expressing outrage and disbelief. The digital wildfire spreads beyond regional boundaries, capturing national attention. Amelia's second call connects to Dr. Janet Morrison, her mentor and current head of the National Association of Minority Banking Executives. Janet's voice carries both concern and barely contained excitement. I saw the video, sweetheart. Half the banking industry is texting me. Are you ready to make an example of them? I have been ready for 20 years, Amelia responds, her voice carrying the weight of every slight, every dismissal, every moment of casual racism she has endured while building her financial empire. Back inside the bank, Carlos approaches Derek with the business card trembling in his hand. Sir, I think you need to look at this card. His voice cracks slightly, the weight of what he knows pressing against his chest. Derek snatches the card impatiently, his attention already moving to other matters. His eyes scan the elegant typography. Dr. Amelia Richardson, Chief Executive Officer, Richardson Financial Holdings. The name triggers a memory, a corporate training session about major investors. Richardson Financial Holdings owns 70% of First National Bank. The woman he just humiliated does not just bank here, she owns here. Derek's face transitions through confusion, recognition, and absolute terror in the span of 3 seconds. His hands begin to shake as the magnitude of his error becomes clear. Amelia's third call connects to Channel 7 News. Sarah, it is Amelia Richardson. I have an exclusive story for you about systemic racism in banking that is going to break tonight. Derek is about to discover that his disruptive customer owns the building he is standing in. Derek types Richardson Financial Holdings into his search engine with shaking fingers, each keystroke bringing him closer to understanding the catastrophic nature of his mistake. The search results confirm his worst nightmare. Major bank investor. Controls multiple financial institutions. CEO worth $847 million. Her photograph appears in the search results. The same composed face that he just had escorted from his bank by security. The same woman he'd dismissed as a problematic customer seeking attention. Frank the security guard returns to his post with confusion written across his weathered features. Boss, that lady did not do anything wrong. She was just asking to speak with you about banking business. Derek's voice cracks as he attempts to maintain authority. Frank, that is not your concern. Return to your post. But his words carry no conviction, his face pale with the realization of what he has done. The video reaches 200,000 views within 3 hours, picked up by regional news stations and shared across professional networks. The bank's main customer service line begins receiving calls from angry customers threatening to close their accounts. Comments flood the internet from viewers across the country. I am moving my money tomorrow. This is disgusting behavior in 2025. Fire that manager immediately. What bank is this? I am never banking there. Amelia receives a text from Marcus. Legal team assembled. Press conference set for 6 p.m. Channel 7 wants an exclusive interview. Are you ready to go nuclear? Her response requires only 2 words. Launch Protocol 7. Derek's computer chimes with an email marked urgent from corporate headquarters. The subject line reads, Immediate response required, viral incident downtown branch. His mouse hovers over the message, his career flashing before his eyes. The email comes from Jonathan Blake, Chief Executive Officer of First National Bank, and its tone suggests that Derek's employment status is about to become a historical footnote. Protocol 7 means complete corporate restructuring, something Derek will learn about very soon. For now, he stares at his computer screen, watching his professional life disintegrate in real time while the woman he wronged prepares to reshape an entire industry. Derek has no idea that Protocol 7 means complete corporate restructuring. CEO Jonathan Blake's assistant bursts into his corner office overlooking the financial district, her usually composed demeanor shattered by urgency. Sir, we have a crisis. The Richardson incident has exploded online. Legal is demanding immediate action. Blake knows exactly who Richardson Financial Holdings represents. They are the bank's largest investor and most influential stakeholder. His hands shake as he watches the video on his tablet, recognizing the catastrophic implications of Derek's actions. Get Derek Walsh on the phone, immediately, Blake commands, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to crisis management, but the tension of someone facing an unprecedented situation. Derek's phone rings with the specific tone reserved for calls from corporate leadership. The caller ID displays J. Blake, CEO, and Derek feels his remaining hope evaporate like morning mist. Derek? What the hell happened down there? Blake's voice cuts through the phone like a blade, each word precisely chosen for maximum impact. Sir, I was just maintaining security protocols. She seemed suspicious, and I followed standard procedures for disruptive customers. Derek's explanation sounds pathetic, even to his own ears. Blake's explosion reverberates through the phone. Suspicious? Derek, do you have any idea who that woman is? She owns 70% of this bank. You just humiliated our primary investor on live video. Word spreads through the downtown branch like a virus, whispered conversations between tellers and customer service representatives. Carlos shares what he knows with growing urgency, the business card serving as evidence of Derek's monumental error. The story gets picked up by major news outlets with algorithmic speed. CNN runs the headline, Banking Executive Ejected from Own Bank. Fox News leads with, Discrimination caught on camera at major bank. NBC opens their evening broadcast with CEO humiliated in racist banking incident. The hashtag reaches 500,000 mentions across social platforms. Celebrity influencers begin sharing the video, adding their own commentary about systemic racism in financial services. The bank's stock price drops 3% in aftermath trading. In her penthouse office, Amelia watches the news coverage on multiple screens, her assistant providing updates every 10 minutes. "Ma'am, another news outlet wants comment. Stock price down. Customer service overwhelmed with account closure threats. Tell them I will have a statement at 6 o'clock sharp." Amelia responds, her voice carrying the calm authority of someone who has spent 20 years preparing for this exact moment. Derek receives an email with the subject line, "Report to CEO office immediately. Bring legal representation if available." His hands tremble as he reads the words that will likely end his career. Derek does not know that Amelia's legal team has already prepared termination papers and a federal discrimination lawsuit. Local news trucks arrive at the bank like metal vultures, their satellite dishes reaching toward the sky to broadcast Derek's downfall to a national audience. Protesters begin gathering outside with handmade signs reading, "Banking while black shouldn't be a crime," and "Fire Derek Walsh." Derek's wife calls from their suburban home, her voice tight with anxiety. "Derek, your name is trending online. What did you do?" The question hangs in the air like an accusation, the first crack in his personal foundation. His teenage daughter sends a text message that cuts deeper than any corporate reprimand. "Dad, kids at school are sharing a video of you. This is so embarrassing, I can't even look at my friends." Inside the bank, customers begin recognizing Derek from the viral video. Several demand to speak with someone else for their banking needs. An elderly black customer approaches Carlos specifically. "I do not want that man handling my account anymore." An emergency board meeting convenes via video conference, 12 faces arranged in a grid on the conference room screen. Amelia participates as the primary shareholder, though the other board members do not yet realize the woman in the video is sitting in their virtual meeting. "We need to identify this customer immediately and make this right," declares board member Robert Hamilton, his corporate crisis management training evident in his measured tone. Amelia speaks for the first time in the meeting, her voice cutting through the digital static. "Gentlemen, you do not need to identify me. I am already here." Silence fills the virtual meeting room like lead, each board member's face cycling through confusion, recognition, and horror. They have been discussing how to appease a customer who literally owns the company they represent. The board scrambles into damage control mode. "Dr. Richardson, we had no idea this was unprecedented. We will handle this immediately." Their words tumble over each other in a desperate attempt to mitigate disaster. Derek spends his lunch break Googling how to handle viral social media crisis and employment lawyers near me, his professional confidence replaced by desperate research into legal protection. Channel 7 News sets up their equipment outside the bank. Reporter Sarah Chen preparing for a live broadcast that will reshape industry practices. This story represents a larger pattern of discrimination in financial services. The board has just authorized Derek's immediate termination, but he is about to learn he has far bigger problems than losing his job. 6 o'clock p.m. Channel 7 News Studio. Sarah Chen sits across from Dr. Amelia Richardson in her executive boardroom, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's financial district serving as a backdrop that emphasizes power and authority. "Dr. Richardson, tell our viewers what happened today," Sarah begins, her journalistic training evident in the direct, respectful approach. "I walked into a bank branch that I own to conduct routine business. I was profiled, dismissed, and ultimately escorted out by security, all because a manager made assumptions based on my race." Amelia's voice carries no anger, only the measured tone of someone stating facts for the record. Derek watches from his apartment, still not connecting the dots between the woman and the name Richardson that has haunted his search results. Richardson. Why does that name sound familiar? He mutters to his empty living room. Zara holds up the business card that Carlos discovered. For our viewers who might not know, Dr. Amelia Richardson is the CEO of Richardson Financial Holdings, which owns controlling interest in First National Bank. Derek's world collapses in real time. The remote control falls from his hand, clattering onto his hardwood floor. The woman he humiliated owns the bank, owns his bank, owns the building where he destroyed his own career. The internet explodes in real time with comments and reactions. She owns the bank. Plot twist of the century. Derek Walsh just became a meme. This is the ultimate do not you know who I am moment. Sarah, this was not about me being rich or powerful. This was about a black woman being presumed to be a problem rather than a customer. Derek Walsh did not know my net worth. But that is exactly the point. Every black person who walks into that bank deserves respect, regardless of their bank balance. In the corporate boardroom, remaining board members watch in stunned silence as their primary investor systematically dismantles their reputation on national television. "We need damage control now," whispers one member. "Damage control? She is the damage control," responds another. "Effective immediately, I am implementing new protocols across all Richardson Financial Holdings properties. Mandatory bias training, cultural competency requirements, zero tolerance for discrimination." Amelia's words carry the weight of corporate policy, each statement reshaping industry practices in real time. "What about Derek Walsh specifically?" Sarah asks, the question hanging in the air like smoke. "Mr. Walsh's employment status is a matter for the board. However, I can confirm that his actions today violated both company policy and federal discrimination laws." Amelia's response is measured, professional, devastating. Derek's phone buzzes with a text from his supervisor. "Do not come in tomorrow. Do not come in ever. Security will pack your office." The career he built over 23 years ends with a text message. The reveal sends the story into the stratosphere across all platforms. The original video hits 2 million views. The hashtag becomes a movement. Banking executives across the country watch in horror, knowing this story will reshape their industry. As the interview concludes, Amelia stands at her office window, looking down at the bank where she was humiliated 6 hours earlier. Justice is being served in real time, broadcast to millions of viewers. Derek thought getting fired was his worst problem, until he learns about the federal lawsuit being filed in the morning. Within hours of the broadcast, First National Bank's stock price plummets 8%, wiping out millions in shareholder value. Customer service departments across all branches become overwhelmed with account closure requests and angry demands for explanations. An emergency board meeting convenes at 9 p.m., all 12 members attending virtually from their homes, their faces grim with the knowledge that their careers hang in the balance of Amelia's decision. "Dr. Richardson, we are prepared to offer our full cooperation in resolving this matter," announces Board Chairman William Foster, his corporate diplomacy training evident in his measured tone. "This is not about cooperation anymore. This is about transformation." Amelia responds, her voice carrying the weight of systemic change rather than individual vindication. Amelia's legal team, led by Marcus Chen, works through the night preparing a comprehensive federal case. The file grows to include civil rights violations, corporate negligence claims, punitive damages for public humiliation, and demands for institutional reform. "We are not just going after Derek. We are going after the culture that created Derek," Marcus explains to his team of associate attorneys, each one understanding the historical significance of their work. Derek's court-appointed lawyer delivers devastating news in a cramped legal aid office. "Mr. Walsh, you are facing federal civil rights charges. This could include criminal penalties, not just employment termination." For the first time, Derek truly grasps the magnitude of his actions. "I just thought I was doing my job," he whispers. "Your job included racially profiling customers." "The Department of Justice takes that very seriously," his lawyer responds, pulling out forms for federal criminal defense representation. By morning, the story dominates news cycles across all major networks. CNN leads with banking giant faces federal investigation after CEO discrimination. MSNBC runs the viral video that exposed systemic racism in finance. The Wall Street Journal publishes Richardson Financial Holdings demands industry-wide reform. The Department of Justice announces a formal investigation into First National Bank's practices. FBI agents arrived at the downtown branch with subpoenas for employment records, training materials, and customer service complaints dating back 5 years. This case represents a pattern of discrimination that extends beyond one employee. "We are examining institutional failures," announces federal prosecutor Maria Santos at a press conference outside the Department of Justice building. Banking institutions across the country enter crisis mode. Wells Fargo's CEO calls an emergency diversity meeting. Bank of America reviews all recent discrimination complaints. Chase Bank quietly settles 3 pending bias lawsuits to avoid similar publicity. The American Banking Association releases a statement. Recent events highlight the need for renewed commitment to inclusive practices across all financial institutions. The words ring hollow against the backdrop of decades of documented discrimination. In her penthouse office, Amelia outlines her demands to the terrified board. Mandatory bias training within 60 days. Clear consequences for discriminatory behavior. $50 million for minority-owned small business loans. Diversity requirements for all management positions. And public reporting on discrimination complaints. Faced with potential federal prosecution and massive financial losses, the board accepts every demand without negotiation. The Richardson protocols become the new industry standard within months. Derek's mortgage company calls about missed payments. His wife serves him divorce papers. His teenage daughter refuses to speak to him. The man who thought he was protecting the bank's standards has lost everything he valued. Back at the branch, employees react with mixed emotions. Carlos expresses regret. "I should have spoken up sooner. I knew what he was doing was wrong." Other employees worry about their own past actions, being scrutinized under federal investigation. Longtime customers face moral reckonings. An elderly white customer closes her account. "I have banked here for 30 years, but I cannot support this behavior." A young professional moves his accounts. "I am switching to a minority-owned bank. This is 2025, there is no excuse." 2 weeks after the incident, settlement discussions begin in a federal courthouse. Derek's legal fees reach $150,000. The bank's potential liability climbs to $25 million in federal fines. Amelia's demands include complete restructuring of company policies. Other shareholders demand action. Richardson Financial Holdings controls this company. If they withdraw investment, we are finished. Pension fund managers worry. Our retirees cannot afford to lose value because of one racist manager. Banking regulators announce surprise inspections of 50 major banks. The Federal Reserve releases a statement. Recent events demonstrate the need for enhanced oversight of discriminatory practices in banking. The Office of the Comptroller of the Currency opens formal proceedings against First National Bank's operating license, threatening the institution's ability to continue operation. Federal prosecutors file formal charges against Derek, civil rights violations under federal banking laws, specifically targeting customers based on race. Potential penalties include up to 5 years in federal prison and $250,000 in fines. This is not just about losing a job anymore. This is about losing his freedom, Derek realizes as he sits in his lawyer's office, staring at documents that will define the rest of his life. At a packed press conference, Amelia addresses the nation. This case is bigger than one man's prejudice. This is about building a financial system that serves everyone with dignity and respect. We will not stop until systemic change is achieved. Derek's criminal trial is set to begin, but that is only the beginning of Amelia's plan for industry-wide transformation. 6 months later, Derek Walsh sits in federal court facing civil rights charges. His transformation from confident branch manager to federal defendant serving as a cautionary tale broadcast across financial industry training programs. The courtroom is packed with media representatives, civil rights advocates, and banking industry observers, all recognizing the historical significance of the proceedings. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, this case is about a man who used his position of authority to humiliate and discriminate against a customer based solely on her race. Prosecutor Maria Santos declares in her opening statement. Derek has aged visibly during the months leading to trial. His confident corporate demeanor has been replaced by nervous fidgeting and haunted eyes that reflect the magnitude of his fallen status. His court-appointed attorney advised him to plead guilty in exchange for reduced sentencing, but Derek's pride prevented him from accepting responsibility for actions he still struggles to understand as criminal. Carlos Mendez takes the witness stand with visible nervousness, his testimony crucial to establishing the pattern of discrimination that federal prosecutors need to prove their case. Mr. Walsh consistently treated black customers differently. He would hover when they made transactions, question their account legitimacy, and find reasons to delay their service, Carlos testifies, his voice gaining strength as he speaks truth to power. Federal investigators present disturbing evidence of systematic bias. 47 complaints against Derek in 3 years, 89% involving customers of color, 0 disciplinary actions taken by bank management. Email evidence proves particularly damaging. We need to maintain our clientele standards. These people bring down the branch's profile, Derek had written to his supervisor, the words now serving as evidence of discriminatory intent. Dr. Richardson takes the witness stand with the same quiet dignity she displayed during her humiliation 6 months earlier. I did not reveal my identity because I wanted to be treated like any other customer. Mr. Walsh's behavior showed me exactly how he treats black customers when he thinks no one is watching. Derek's defense attorney attempts to portray Amelia as seeking revenge rather than justice, but her composed responses demolish his strategy with surgical precision. I seek justice, not revenge. Justice for every person who was denied dignity at that bank, she responds, her words carrying the weight of institutional change. Multiple former customers testify about Derek's discriminatory behavior, their stories painting a pattern of systematic bias that spans years of customer interactions. He made me feel like a criminal for depositing my Social Security check, testifies an elderly black customer, her dignity intact despite the humiliation she endured. He questioned whether my paycheck was legitimate, even though I had banked there for 5 years, adds a young black professional, his experience echoing countless similar incidents. Banking discrimination expert Dr. Janet Morrison explains the broader impact. Mr. Walsh's actions represent institutional racism that prevents wealth building in minority communities. This is not just about hurt feelings. It is about economic justice. Derek's testimony crumbles under cross-examination, his explanations sounding increasingly hollow as Prosecutor Santos systematically dismantles his defense. Did you treat white customers with the same suspicion? Santos asks, her question cutting to the heart of the discrimination case. I treated all customers according to protocol, Derek responds, his voice lacking conviction. Show me one complaint about you questioning a white customer's legitimacy, Santos challenges, her follow-up question hanging in the air like a blade. Derek pauses for long seconds, his silence more damning than any verbal response. I cannot recall any specific instances. The jury deliberates for only 2 hours, the evidence overwhelming and the pattern undeniable. On the charge of civil rights violations under federal banking law, we find the defendant guilty. announces the jury foreman. Judge Maria Santos addresses Derek before sentencing. Mr. Walsh, your actions represent a shameful abuse of authority. You used your position to humiliate and discriminate, causing lasting harm not just to Dr. Richardson, but to countless other customers. 18 months in federal prison, $75,000 in fines, 200 hours of community service at civil rights organizations, permanent ban from working in banking. As handcuffs are placed on his wrists, Derek finally understands the full weight of his actions. The man who thought he was protecting the bank's reputation has become the face of everything wrong with the banking industry. Civil rights advocates in the gallery applaud quietly, while banking executives look uncomfortable, knowing their own practices will face similar scrutiny. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarm for statements. Dr. Richardson, how do you feel about today's verdict? Asks a CNN correspondent. Justice has been served, but our work is just beginning. One conviction does not fix systemic racism in banking, Amelia responds. Her words carrying the promise of continued transformation. Derek's conviction sends shockwaves through the banking industry, forcing unprecedented reforms nationwide. 18 months after Derek's conviction, the banking industry bears little resemblance to its previous incarnation, transformed by what industry analysts call the Richardson effect. Federal regulatory changes mandated by congressional action include mandatory bias training for all banking employees, federal oversight of discrimination complaints, public reporting requirements for customer service demographics, and zero-tolerance policies with criminal referral protocol. Richardson Financial Holdings has become the gold standard for inclusive banking practices, posting statistics that shame competitors into action. 300% increase in minority business loans, 95% customer satisfaction rating across all demographics, zero discrimination complaints in 18 months. Other major banks scramble to match Richardson's standards or face customer defection and regulatory scrutiny. Wells Fargo's CEO announces implementation of the Richardson Protocol across all branches, declaring that customer dignity is non-negotiable. Bank of America hires former Richardson executives to overhaul their diversity programs, while Chase invests $100 million in bias elimination technology and training programs. New financial technology companies emerge specifically to address banking discrimination, their innovations reshaping how financial institutions interact with customers of all backgrounds. Congress passes the Richardson Act, establishing criminal penalties for banking discrimination, federal civil rights protections for all financial customers, mandatory reporting of discrimination incidents, and funding for minority-owned financial institutions. Business schools nationwide revise their curricula to include mandatory courses on unconscious bias and ethical banking practices. Harvard Business School creates the Richardson Center for Banking Ethics, while Wharton establishes fellowship programs for minority banking executives. The changes extend beyond banking into broader financial services, with real estate experiencing a 400% increase in mortgage discrimination prosecutions, insurance companies implementing industry-standard bias training, and investment firms providing unprecedented funding to minority-owned enterprises. Even from federal prison, Derek's case continues influencing positive change. In a prison interview, he reflects, "I destroyed lives through my ignorance. If my punishment prevents one person from experiencing what I put Dr. Richardson through, then maybe some good comes from this." Derek participates in prison bias education programs, slowly confronting the prejudices that destroyed his career and personal life, his transformation serving as evidence that rehabilitation remains possible. The Richardson case influences banking practices globally, with the European Union adopting similar anti-discrimination protocols, Canada updating banking regulations based on American reforms, and Australia implementing bias monitoring in financial institutions. Dr. Richardson's impact extends far beyond one viral incident. her influence reaching international levels as she addresses the United Nations on economic justice, publishes the best-selling book Banking on Dignity, and establishes the Richardson Foundation to provide legal aid for discrimination victims. Should there be stricter consequences for workplace discrimination? Let us know in the comments below. Her speaking engagements inspire a new generation of financial professionals committed to justice and inclusion, while her foundation's work ensures that Derek Walsh's case becomes the beginning rather than the end of systematic reform. But Amelia's greatest challenge still lies ahead, ensuring these changes survive beyond media attention and become permanent fixtures of American financial culture. 3 years after the incident that changed an industry, Dr. Amelia Richardson stands in the renovated downtown branch of First National Bank, now renamed Richardson Community Financial Center. The marble floors shine with the same luster, but everything else reflects a fundamental transformation of purpose and culture. Multilingual signage welcomes customers in 6 languages. Community investment displays showcase local minority businesses funded through Richardson loans, and a memorial wall honors victims of financial discrimination throughout American history. Derek's former office has been converted into a customer advocacy center, where specially trained staff help customers navigate financial services without fear of discrimination or bias. Carlos Mendez, now branch manager, greets customers with genuine warmth that embodies the institution's new culture. His promotion from teller to management represents the bank's commitment to recognizing merit over prejudice. Every day I think about that moment when I held Dr. Richardson's business card. I almost stayed silent. I am grateful I found the courage to speak up, even if it was too late to prevent what happened, Carlos reflects during a staff meeting. Fresh banking associates undergo intensive bias training that includes viewing the viral video as part of their mandatory orientation, learning Derek's story not as entertainment, but as a cautionary tale about real-world consequences of prejudice. This video changed our entire industry. Derek Walsh thought he was protecting the bank's image. Instead, he nearly destroyed it. Your job is to serve every customer with dignity and respect, explains the training instructor to new employees. The neighborhood surrounding the bank has experienced remarkable transformation through inclusive investment practices that demonstrate the economic benefits of equality and respect. 23 new minority-owned businesses have opened with Richardson Community Loans. Property values have increased 15% as the area became more inclusive. And financial literacy classes serve 500 families annually. Derek Walsh was released from federal prison after serving 15 months, emerging as a humbled and educated man determined to make amends for his actions and their consequences. His first stop after release was the Richardson Foundation, where he volunteers to share his story as a warning to others about the devastating consequences of prejudice and discrimination. I destroyed my life and hurt countless people through my ignorance and prejudice. If sharing my story prevents one person from making my mistakes, then my punishment has meaning, Derek states during victim impact presentations. Dr. Richardson now serves on the Federal Reserve's Community Development Advisory Council, shaping national banking policy with influence that extends far beyond one incident at one bank. Her policy achievements include creation of a national banking bias reporting database, federal funding for minority-owned financial institutions, international consulting on inclusive banking practices, and mentorship programs for minority banking executives. The original video, now viewed over 50 million times, continues inspiring change across multiple industries and international boundaries, its impact measured in concrete policy reforms and cultural transformation. 1,247 discrimination complaints have been filed nationwide. 89 banking employees have been prosecuted for bias. $347 million in settlements have been awarded to victims, and 156 banks have implemented Richardson protocols. In her penthouse office, Amelia reflects on the journey from humiliation to transformation. recognizing that Derek's prejudice became the catalyst for change she never imagined possible. That terrible day taught me that my wealth and position mean nothing if I do not use them to lift others. Derek's prejudice became the catalyst for change I never imagined possible, she reflects during quiet moments. Young banking professionals, many inspired by Dr. Richardson's example, enter the industry with fundamentally different mindsets about service, equality, and human dignity. I want to work in banking because Dr. Richardson showed that financial services can be a force for justice and equality, explains a recent graduate during her job interview. The Richardson Community Financial Center serves as a living monument to dignity and transformation. Where Derek once saw threats, the new culture sees opportunities. Where fear once reigned, respect now flourishes. The ultimate irony remains that the bank Derek thought he was protecting through prejudice is now stronger, more profitable, and more respected than ever before, precisely because it embraces the diversity he feared. Your character is not defined by your position. It is revealed by how you treat people who cannot help you. Amelia's story proves that sometimes the worst moments in our lives can become catalysts for the greatest change. As we conclude this remarkable story of transformation, Dr. Amelia Richardson's journey from humiliation to triumph offers profound lessons for our modern world and demonstrates the power of dignity in the face of injustice. In her darkest moment, when cameras captured her being escorted from her own bank like a criminal, Amelia chose dignity over retaliation, her composure under pressure becoming the foundation for systematic change that continues reshaping American financial culture. Derek Walsh's 30 seconds of prejudice rippled through an entire industry, affecting millions of customers and thousands of employees. His story reminding us that every interaction matters, and every choice carries consequences that extend far beyond individual experience. 3 years later, the banking industry continues evolving under the influence of the Richardson protocols, which have been adopted by 847 financial institutions nationwide. Federal prosecution of banking discrimination has increased 340%, and most importantly, millions of customers now receive the respect and dignity they deserve when seeking financial services. This story's impact transcends financial services, inspiring similar accountability measures in healthcare, real estate, education, and retail industries, proving that justice delayed does not have to mean justice denied. Derek's conviction inspired similar prosecutions across multiple industries, while Dr. Richardson's example demonstrates that individual courage can create systematic change when backed by resources and determination. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to see that change is possible. If you have experienced discrimination, know that your voice matters and justice remains achievable through persistence and courage. Dr. Richardson now travels internationally, consulting with governments and corporations on building inclusive systems, her message remaining simple. Treat every person as if they might own the building, because dignity should not depend on net worth. 12,700,000 people have viewed the original video. $2,300,000,000 in discrimination settlements have resulted from copycat cases. 23 countries have adopted similar banking reform laws, and 156,000 banking employees have completed bias training. Even Derek Walsh, now working as a diversity trainer for financial institutions, has found purpose in his downfall. I became the example of what not to do. If my mistakes help create a more just world, then something good came from something terrible. The Richardson Foundation has announced its next initiative, addressing discrimination in artificial intelligence algorithms used by financial institutions, with Dr. Richardson declaring that technology should eliminate bias, not encode it. Share your own experiences with workplace discrimination in the comments. Your story could inspire the next wave of transformative change in your industry or community. This story proves that sometimes our worst moments become catalysts for our greatest victories. And sometimes, the people who try to break us end up building movements that change the world for the better. Where are you watching from? Has this story changed how you think about treating others? Share this video if you believe everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, regardless of their background or circumstances. Character is not about the power you hold. It is about how you treat people who cannot help you.